All right. Ready to tackle that $10,000 debt in 6 months. Ambitious. I like it.
Definitely ambitious.
This is no ordinary stroll in the park. It's a climb up debt mountain, but don't worry, you've got this. This deep dive is going to break down Payoff, $10,000 debt in 6 months. No excuses.
That's right.
So you have a clear path and actionable steps to make it happen.
And it's not just about cutting back on lattes.
Yeah.
It's about understanding the psychology behind debt repayment and making this information work for you.
Think of this as your financial boot camp.
Yes.
A chance to take control and come out stronger on the other side.
Absolutely. And every good training plan starts with sizing up the challenge.
Yeah.
This source is big on really knowing your debt, not just a guesstimate.
Yeah, you wouldn't jump into a marathon without knowing the route, right?
Exactly. This source is all about understanding what you're up against. That means listing out every single debt you have. The total amount, the interest rates, minimum payments. It's about getting granular.
Now, I'll admit, sometimes I avoid looking at the full picture when it comes to finances. It can feel a bit overwhelming.
Sure.
But why is that initial assessment so crucial?
Because it's about clarity and control. Many people underestimate their debt, which can lead to feeling stuck or making decisions based on incomplete information.
Right.
This isn't about judgment. It's about setting yourself up for success by seeing the full picture, just like a general mapping out their strategy for battle.
Yeah.
This step allows you to prioritize, strategize, and tackle your debt with a clear head.
Okay.
Once you know exactly where you stand, you can start making those power moves towards financial freedom.
Okay, so we've mapped out our debt, and we're ready for action. What's the next step in our debt-crushing journey? This is where things get really interesting. It's time to create what this source calls a hyper-focused budget. Now, before you start thinking about rice and beans for every meal,
Right.
it's not about deprivation. It's about being strategic and making sure your money is working as hard as you are. And that starts with awareness. The source recommends tracking every single expense for a week, and I mean everything.
Everything.
That daily coffee, those online subscriptions you forgot about, even that dollar you spent on gum, it all adds up.
It does.
You know, I used to think tracking expenses was just about like restricting myself,
Yeah.
but I realize it's actually about understanding where my money is going.
Right.
It's eye-opening to see those patterns and make conscious choices about what really matters.
Right. And once you have that clear picture of your spending habits, it's time to identify areas for strategic cuts.
Okay.
Think of it as trimming the fat, those non-essential expenses that can be redirected toward crushing your debt. Now, I know this part isn't always easy, especially when it comes to things like dining out or entertainment.
Right.
Do you have any tips for staying motivated while making these adjustments?
Yeah. Do you have any, I don't know, words of wisdom you can share?
Absolutely. One thing this source emphasizes is reframing those sacrifices as investments in your future. Instead of viewing it as missing out,
Okay.
consider it a commitment to your financial freedom. Plus, there are plenty of creative ways to enjoy life without overspending. Think. Potluck dinners with friends, free concerts in the park, or exploring local museums on discount days.
Right.
It's about finding joy and connection within your means.
So it's about getting resourceful.
Yes.
Right. And speaking of resourcefulness, the source also reminds us to negotiate our bills.
Yes.
A quick phone call to your internet, phone, or insurance provider could potentially unlock some savings. You never know what discounts or promotions they might offer.
You really don't.
I love that. It's about being proactive and advocating for yourself. Now, let's talk about tackling those debts strategically. This source is a big fan of the debt avalanche method. Can you explain what that is and why it's so effective?
The debt avalanche method is all about outsmarting interest rates. It's like a strategic takedown of your debt, starting with the highest interest rate first, often credit cards. You'll still make minimum payments on your other debts, but you'll focus your extra cash on knocking out that high-interest debt as quickly as possible.
Okay, so can you give us an example of how much of a difference this method can make? Because sometimes it feels like those interest charges are working against us no matter what we do.
Imagine this. You have a $5,000 credit card balance with a 20% interest rate. If you're only making the minimum payment, you'll end up paying a significant amount in interest over time. But if you prioritize that debt with extra payments, you'll pay it off faster and could potentially save hundreds, even thousands, in interest charges.
Yeah.
It's like giving yourself a raise.
That makes sense. So we're being strategic about paying off debt, but what about the other side of the equation, increasing our income? This source also talks about turbocharging income. What are some of the creative ways you've seen people boost their income in the short term?
There are so many possibilities. It's about tapping into your skills, your resources, and a little bit of hustle. This source mentions selling items you no longer need through online platforms like Facebook Marketplace or eBay. One person's clutter is another person's treasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And, beyond decluttering, the gig economy offers so much potential. Think driving for a ride-sharing service, using platforms like TaskRabbit for odd jobs, or even picking up a few extra shifts at your current job, if possible.
yeah,
It's about leveraging those extra hours to reach your goal faster.
exactly.
And for those with specialized skills, freelancing can be a game changer. This source highlights the growth of platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, which connect freelancers with clients all over the world. Whether you're a writer, graphic designer, or virtual assistant, there's a demand for your talents. It's amazing how many options are out there when you start looking, but let's be real for a second. Staying motivated with this kind of intense financial plan can be a challenge in itself, right? What are some strategies for staying on track when those inevitable temptations
Well,
arise?
this source is big on the mental game of debt repayment.
Okay.
One thing that really resonated with me is the power of visualization.
Oh, okay.
Imagine having a visual tracker, maybe a chart, or even just like a simple drawing of a mountain
Right.
where you can mark off your progress each time you make a payment.
I like that.
It's like turning your debt repayment into a game
Yeah.
and celebrating those milestones along the way.
I love that. And it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Our brains love visual rewards. It's like giving yourself a visual pat on the back for every step closer to the summit of Debt Mountain. What other motivational tools does the source recommend?
Celebrating wins is crucial. Each time you pay off a debt, no matter how small,
Right.
take the time to acknowledge your achievement.
Okay.
Maybe it's a celebratory dinner at home, cooked by you, of course, keeping those budget goals in mind.
Right, of course.
Or perhaps it's treating yourself to something small within your budget, like a new book or a bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
These little rewards can make a big difference in keeping your spirits up.
It's like those milestones they have during marathons,
Yeah.
right?
hmm
Those little boosts can really keep you going. And speaking of support systems,
Yeah.
what about finding a friend or family member to be your accountability partner during this journey?
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes the importance of having an accountability buddy,
Okay.
someone you can share your goals with and who understands the challenges you're facing.
Right.
They can celebrate your wins with you and offer encouragement when you need it most.
Yeah.
Sometimes just having someone to talk to who gets it can make all the difference.
It's like having a financial cheerleader in your corner rooting you on every step of the way. We've covered a lot of ground today, from mapping out debt to exploring ways to increase income and even the psychology of motivation.
Right. A holistic approach.
Yes. Exactly. What are some key takeaways you want our listener to walk away with?
Well, I think this deep dive really highlights that paying off debt is a journey, and it requires a solid plan, the right mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and a healthy dose of self-awareness.
Right.
It's about understanding your spending patterns, identifying areas where you can make adjustments, and then, consistently taking action towards your goals.
And this source really drives home the point that, it's not just about restricting yourself, but it's about making intentional choices that align with your values. It's about understanding that financial freedom isn't some distant dream. It's something you can achieve with the right tools and strategies.
Absolutely. It's about having a plan, taking action, and believing in your ability to achieve your goals.
I love that. So for our listener who's ready to conquer their debt mountain,
Right.
here's a final thought to ponder.
Okay.
Imagine yourself 6 months from now, debt-free.
Wow.
How does it feel?
Yeah, how does it feel?
What opportunities are now within your reach?
Yeah, what's possible?
Hold on to that vision, because it's that vision that will fuel your motivation and guide you toward the financial future you deserve.